can follow him at Larry Elder. Larry Elder, thanks for being on the show, good sir.
My pleasure. No, the stash is gone, long gone, gone but not forgotten. No mas.
Why?
Well, it's a long story, but I use a depilatory on my face like a lot of black men because I have ingrown hairs. And one morning I get up and I put it on too deeply on one side, and it burned that side. So I did the other side. It burned that side. Finally, I ended up having a little thing like Hitler. So I got rid of it, and I found out that nobody even noticed. All these years, I was 19 years old, I think, when I first had the stash. All these years, Stephen, I find out nobody even noticed. So I didn't take the time anymore.
Black Hitler. I noticed. You know why? Because I can't grow one. So I think it's one of those things, if you don't have it, you notice it. And maybe, did all your friends have glorious stashes, so it was just kind of, run of the mill?
I think it's a black man thing. If you notice, black men, by proportion, have a lot more mustaches than white guys do. I'm not quite sure why. My dad never did, but most of the guys in my neighborhood did. Growing hair was a cool thing, so I always had it, and when I got rid of it, I found out nobody noticed, so now I save about 15 minutes a day.
you
multiply that out.
Why did he have to go straight to the racial thing?
Move this man!
Goes right to the racial thing.
Because we got a Supreme Court nomination happening, and that's gone racial. You hear about that? Lawrence Tribe is a Harvard professor. He says the reason the Republicans are throwing sand in the gears is because Obama's black.
Yeah.
Now, never mind. Obama wanted to filibuster Sam Alito. And Obama apparently is not going to the funeral of Antonin Scalia, so maybe he's got something against Italian-Americans. If you want to bring the race card up...
Well, back to the mustaches, too, if you're talking about Italian-Americans. Listen, forgive me as a layman. You're obviously a much more informed and well-read gentleman than me. If it's not the Senate's job to sort of assist in this vetting, I'm a little confused as to their role. What's unconstitutional about this?
Well, the Senate's role is advise and consent. They ultimately have to vote on the nominee, but there's no rule that requires them to vote on the nominee, let alone vote on the nominee in a president's lame duck year.
Right.
Chuck Schumer in 2007 and Bush's last year said he wasn't going to approve any nominees whatsoever. Barack Obama, as I mentioned, joined a filibuster to stop Sam Alito from even coming to the floor for a vote. So when the shoe's on the other foot, these guys have no problem whatsoever trying to get their guys to. When it's not, then they yell and scream. It's all politics. The bottom line is there will be no Supreme Court nominee until Obama is gone. It'll be up to the next president because the Republicans won't have it over their dead body. And if we're the other way around, the Democrats will be doing the same thing as they've done in the past.
Over your dead body. Well, if you're talking about running against the Hillary Clinton...
Your punishment must be more severe.
It's quite possible. So, okay, Mr. Elder, this is important, but I also sort of wanted to talk, because you were really obviously with the Clarence Thomas thing at the forefront, and that is interesting to sort of go back to. What was the biggest controversy because we talk now about how politically correct we've gotten. What was this big controversy? Because it was on Twitter, and there's an entire generation, I know about this, and the Coke can and the short and curly. There's an entire generation who doesn't know, and so they believe that Clarence Thomas is a horrible womanizer and sexual harasser who still is sitting on the court. As briefly as you can, for those dumbasses listening, let them know what the big scandal was about with Clarence Thomas.
Well, first you have to go back to the prior nominee, and that was Robert Bork.
Right.
Robert Bork in 1987 was nominated by Ronald Reagan. Now, normally these things don't make any real difference, but Bork was going to replace a liberal, and the court would have then shifted 5-4 in favor of the conservatives. Believe it or not, Antonin Scalia, arguably the most conservative justice who's serving right now, or was serving, got confirmed unanimously, not a single vote against him.
Right.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, very liberal, not a single vote against her. Nobody cared until all of a sudden the court was going to shift from liberal to conservative, and then Robert Bork was nominated, and he was called everything but a child of God. He was defeated on the floor, so Reagan submitted another conservative, a black one, hoping that even the Democrats weren't going to stop this guy because he would have been the second black guy to be on the Supreme Court.
Sure.
But it turns out that a woman surfaced named Anita Hill, who used to work for him, who claims he sexually harassed her. What did he do? He apparently hit on her, not physically, just made moves on her, didn't touch her, and apparently said, for some reason, there's a pubic hair on my coat. All of a sudden, all of a sudden he's a serial racist.
Hold on. It's just because you run through such a serious series of events.
Just gotta toss that one in
Just
there.
toss that in there with a straight face, and that was what it was. It was something like he was like, kind of in a break room. I was telling Not Gay Jared about this. He's younger, and he didn't really know the story. I said, yeah, his big sin was, he said, look at this. So someone's pubic hair on my Coke can, and kept on walking, and that was the big thing.
He just gotten divorced. He was apparently lonely, and he was hitting on this woman at work. And this is his clumsy way of doing it. But he didn't touch her, didn't harass her, he didn't assault her, he certainly didn't rape her. And why this was a big deal only was because of the politics. Anyway, Clarence Thomas is there, and apparently has not put a pubic hair on anybody's coat since then. So he's reformed.
Well, I wonder if it's a problem with when you had the mustache. If that can be confused if you leave it there and you're burning it off and you have the half Hitler and you're leaving hairs everywhere. So what's this on the Coke can? Larry, I hope, as a matter of fact, they would hope Larry had taken a sip of your Coke. Wouldn't you?
Well, so it's another thing I'm going to have to worry about since I don't have the stash.
That's a high-ticket eBay item.
I don't have his stash, but he doesn't drink Cokes anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, it's fun. I just wanted to briefly touch on that because he was trending, I'm sure you saw on Twitter, where people were praising the death of Scalia. They were, thrilled with it. Listen, and I will tell you, I made fun of Ted Kennedy when he died because he killed somebody. So I don't begrudge people for that. I just point out the hypocrisy that the left demands respect when their people pass, and of course they show none.
Well, here's another level of hypocrisy. When Scalia died, there were a whole bunch of tweets saying, what is Clarence Thomas going to do now that his puppet master is dead? Because they typically vote the same. And what people are saying is that Clarence Thomas is so stupid, he doesn't know what he's doing until Scalia tells him what to do. Now, this, if that's not racist, I don't know what it is.
What is your problem, you insensitive asshole?
That's what I say to those people.
There is a magazine, Stephen, that came out a few years ago. It's now defunct, called Emerge magazine.
Yeah.
There's a caricature of Clarence Thomas on the cover of the magazine with him holding a lantern. And the graphic said, Justice Clarence Thomas, lawn jockey to the far right. Inside the magazine, this is a black magazine now, coming out once a month. It was published by Ebony. Inside the magazine, there's a caricature of Clarence Thomas on his knees, shining Antonin Scalia's shoes.
Yeah, well,
this is how these guys roll.
Yeah,
open-minded, empathetic, non-racist, caring. We care about black people, left-wing, until there's a black conservative who, of course, refutes the whole narrative that blacks are oppressed, that the man is still holding us back. And so somebody like Clarence Thomas, and if I may say Larry Elder, are a direct threat to that narrative, and therefore we have to be maligned as Uncle Toms and sellouts.
Right, and also that caricature is inaccurate because the one time I've seen Antonin Scalia with a full shot, which I'm sure no doubt thrilled Dick Morris, he was wearing brushed suede shoes. You don't need to shine those. So the left does not care about accuracy. I won't be questioned on my accuracy.
No, they don't. They couldn't care less.
No, they couldn't. No, it's funny that you may not know this is part of a full podcast, a full 3-hour program that you can hear every week, not only on radio, but click the box right next to me so you can see the full live version.